Hi there.
Hi.
Oh, thank you for joining me this evening. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Right, I'm going to mute everyone so that when you're communicating with me, we'll be by chat. Yeah, so that there will be a free flow of what I have, because there's quite a lot that I'm going to be sharing. Yeah. So thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. Great. We're going to kick off in a couple of minutes. And hopefully we will be done in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. It will be done. Okay. Wow. Hope you guys have had a good evening. Hello, hi Beatrice, good evening. Good to see you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes for a few more people to join, and then we'll just start. So I'm just going to ask everyone to mute as well. Okay. Wow, imposter syndrome. That's what we are looking at today. So where are you joining us from today? If you can put in the chat box where you're joining us from, that would be lovely. Let us know where you're joining us from this evening. Okay, Mancunians in the house. Great. Cool, that's good. Good. All right, you know what? Without much ado, I'm going to start. And then every other person that joins will hopefully catch up with us as we go along this evening. I hope we've all had a good evening. Yeah. Okay. Apologies for that. All right, so good evening. How are we all doing? So we're looking at imposter syndrome today, and also limiting belief. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to start with limiting beliefs, and then we'll move into imposter syndrome and see the different types of imposter syndrome, and also limiting beliefs, how limiting beliefs have been an issue in us. So I'm going to do a poll in a few minutes, but before then, I will like to obviously introduce myself to you. I'm going to introduce myself to you guys. So before I do, today we're looking at imposter syndrome. We're going to be looking at the telltale signs of imposter syndrome. I've got a couple of exercises, but the good thing about today's presentation, right, as I go through, I will be given a bit of nuggets that can help you to deal with limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, and also to help you to identify the telltale signs. And at the end, we'll have a wrap up, we'll have a Q&A session. So please feel free to ask any question that you want to ask me, and just put your questions in the chat box, okay? And also, if you know anyone, so if it might not be just for yourself, if there's anyone that you think is going through imposter syndrome or is suffering from limiting self-beliefs, please, yeah, feel free to share with them the tips that you get from today, and possibly the video, because the video will be available. So my name is Fumi Oye, and I am a therapist. I am also a life coach, right? So I started out on my therapist journey in 2006. I completed my training in 2009. However, because I also suffered from some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you today, there was a big pause from when I qualified to when I actually kicked off my practice as a therapist. So I'm going to be sharing my story as well with you guys today. And yeah, I became a life coach, finished my qualification in 2015. And yeah, that's me. So I have worked with a lot of people who have suffered low self-esteem and also confidence issues. So those are the main issues that I work with counseling. But I'm also a qualified couples relationship therapist. So I work with couples going through relationship issues, anyone going through challenges in their marriage, premarital counseling. So those things, kind of things, are what I do. So at the end of the day, I'm aiming and I'm hoping that you would find out what limiting beliefs are if you don't know already. And also you will be able to deal with it head on, have tools to help you to stop imposter syndrome from robbing you. So those are my challenge for tonight. So I hope that by the end of the day, I am successful in giving you those tools and nuggets that can help you with your own life. Okay. Right, so this is me, and I've briefly explained a bit what I do. I'm a personal performance coach. I am a therapist, and those are the areas of my specialism. I do deal with broader aspects of mental health, but these are the core areas that I have been working in the past few years. So let's dig in. Let's dig in. I am going to run a quick poll, right? And this is the first one. So I'd like you guys to please let me know where you are at with low self-esteem. Have you suffered from low self-esteem before? Have you had a history? And that would help me. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So it's a 50-50 at the moment. So thank you very much. Now, how do you feel? Do you feel confident about your dreams? Do you feel confident about the things that you aspire to do with your life? We're looking at limiting beliefs, we're looking at self-esteem, we're looking at the imposter syndrome. As we know, imposter syndrome is when you have a perceived or persistent, actually, the persistent perception that you're constantly feeling fraudulent, You're constantly doubting yourself, and you constantly feel incompetent in various aspects of your life. That is what imposter syndrome means. If you have a consistent, persistent feeling that you are a fraud and you constantly doubt yourself, those are the prevalent feelings that someone who is suffering from imposter syndrome has with their life. That's the kind of thing that is quite common with people. So let's look at limiting beliefs, right? Let's look at limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs, what does limiting belief mean to us? What does it mean? It's a false thought or ideology that we embrace. So if you are experiencing limiting belief, you have a false thought of ideology that you embrace, and it prevents you from achieving certain results that you set for yourself, setting goals, and also it hinders you from expressing yourself to the fullest. That's limiting beliefs. Okay, false thoughts or ideologies that's by someone, and if those false ideologies prevent you from achieving certain results or expressing yourself, those are limiting beliefs. Now let's unpack. Let's split them into two. Limiting. From the word limiting, it means obstruction, right? It means something that hinders, something that prevents, incapacitates, anything that stops an individual from reaching their fullest potential. That is limiting. And then we want to look at belief. Now, on the other hand, this means something that you accept as true, and you hold on to it. Now, belief in itself does not necessarily doesn't necessarily mean something negative. It doesn't necessarily have to have a negative connotation. It can be a positive belief, but for the purpose of our meeting tonight, we're going to look at the negative connotation of beliefs. Those things that you believe, that you hold on to, that are inherently holding you down and stopping you and hindering you from achieving your full capacity as a person. Those things that you hold on to, those things that are limiting, that are hindering and stopping you. Okay, so we're going to look at how these things are created. How do we come to have limiting beliefs? How are those things that we hold on to, where did they come from? Now we have external sources, so we have external messages, we have internal messages, and then we also have direct feedback. Now, these are the ones that I am going to be using. I'm sure there are going to be possible other ways, but for the purpose of what we're doing tonight, let's limit it to the external message that we hear, internal ones, and the direct feedback. External messages, as a child, when we're growing up, we possibly have experienced people in our inner circle, excuse me, that have been giving us positive feedback, cheering us on, telling us, oh, we're good at this, we're good at that. And before you know it, a child holds on to it and believes it. The same thing if it's a negative feedback, the child consistently hears, the child holds on to that truth, right? So if a little girl is told, oh, you're beautiful, your dress is beautiful, what you would see is this little girl going to the mirror, checking herself out and seeing, oh, yes, internalizing what she's hearing. But on the flip side, if a little girl is constantly talked down, excuse me, if a little girl is constantly talked down, she would begin to perceive herself as not looking so good, withdraw, So these are external messages, and it can also come from our workplace, whatever you hear, you take it in and it becomes your truth. That's external. Internal message, on the other hand, is what you might have seen something, and if you ruminate, it might not necessarily be what you see, what you hear, it could be something that you feel, and it stays with you, and you ruminate, and before you know it becomes your truth. Direct feedback. That I would link directly to what you've done. Maybe a task you have completed, or a project you're working on, or something that you've done, a skill set that you have that you've put to use, and you're now getting feedback from the people around you on what you've done. So that is direct feedback. So external messages, now we're going to look at the limiting external messages that we possibly can have, right? This is a good example. Persist hearing that you're not good enough. When you constantly hear that you are not good enough. As a child, imagine a child growing up and the negative voice that child hears over time, or you're not good enough, you can't make the team, or you can't, your work is not good enough. Or let somebody else do it. And that is subtle. That is a subtle message that gets passed on. And as we grow up, it becomes our truth. You begin to second guess yourself. You begin to doubt yourself. You don't believe the things that you do. So you're not proud, you're not confident. It knocks us down. So these are the things we hear over time, and then it becomes your truth. And it can come from different places. It can be from the people that you trust the most, right? So I talked about internal message. Fear is a very good example of a source of a limiting belief. Fear of failure. And I'm going to use this as an example. If you're constantly afraid to try because you don't want to fail, what would happen is you would find yourself procrastinating. You would leave it and leave it and leave it, and every other thing would seem more important than the thing that you should actually do. Yeah, if that's happened to anyone, you can, let me know in the chat box. Fear of failure. You want to do it, you desire to do it, but you're held back because you don't want it to be seen as a failure, so you hold back. And eventually, because you've held back so long, you've left it, and now you're left with a feeling of guilt because maybe time's gone, you've not been able to achieve your dreams, and you now are in the place where you believe and hoping that, or wishing now, not hoping, wishing that you've done what you thought you should do. That is an internal message that goes on and on in your mind. You just have that dialogue in your mind. Should I? I don't want to fail. Should I? Okay. And direct feedback. Now, this comes from the people, maybe your colleagues, your superiors, your managers at work, your relatives, your spouse. Imagine you being married to someone who's constantly putting you down, constantly saying to you that the things that you're doing is not good enough. Maybe with the way you dress, the way you look, the work you do, you're constantly hearing a negative feedback from your spouse and also your friends. So these are the kind of feedback that we internalize. If someone who is not close to you gives you feedback, I don't think you would take it as personal as if it's someone that is a family, that is a relative or your manager, So it has a way of toggling with our mindset and affecting us. With me. So direct feedback, that's another source of limiting beliefs. Jim Rohn said that you are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. How true is that? So I just want us to examine the people that we surround ourselves with as we are listening to this webinar. The people that are in your immediate circle, your close circle, who are they? Are they people that cheer you on? Are they people that encourage you to, stretch? Are they people that pull you down? Are they people that are just not even, they're just there? So whether you do well or you don't do well, who are the people in your close circle? Because these are the kind of people that feed into you, and you also feed into them. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Just think about that. Perhaps it's time to begin to find ways of changing the people that are within your inner circle if you really want to break out of the circle of limiting beliefs. But if they are the people that cheer you and encourage you, motivate you maybe, then yes, you have the right set of people around you. Okay. So you might have seen these. Now, this is a time for us to reflect. I would like us to think about the things that we're seeing on our screen right now. Do you need love and approval from those people that you consider to be significant? Are you needy of love and approval for you to feel good about yourself? And to be worthwhile, do you feel you have to constantly achieve and succeed at whatever you do, no matter the cost? And making mistakes is out of the question? Is that your reality right now? I would like you to just ponder on that. And then the 4th one says, my happiness is outside of my control. Is that true? Is that your truth right now? Is your happiness out of your control? Do you blame everybody else apart from yourself for where you are today? And then the 4th one says people should always do the right thing and should be blamed or punished whenever they are not. Is that what you hold on to as truth? So that means that if that is, then you would do your every possible best to make sure that you're constantly doing the right thing. And the moment you slip, then the whole barrage of self-criticism, blame, and all that follows through. So these are the core self-limiting beliefs that needs to be dealt with. Now, look at this question, right? Or a statement. Everybody in my family is overweight. There is nothing I can do about it. I know I will be there too. So you're not even overweight yet. You're not overweight, but you believe in your heart that one day you're going to be there. Why? Because everybody in your family are overweight. Is that your truth? That is a sentence or a statement that comes from someone who is suffering from limiting beliefs, believes a truth that is not necessarily true. And the same can be said for health issues. If your family has a certain kind of health issue, if there's a history, does that mean that you also would have that health challenge? This is another one. All the good ones are taken. So when it comes to relationship, you put your head in the sand because you believe that every single good guy or every single good lady have been taken. So you've got no chance at all to have a relationship that you would desire to have. And this is a very common one. Money is the root of all evil. I don't plan to be rich. Not that it's not that there's not a possibility of you being rich, but because you believe it's the root of all evil, whatever evil would mean to you, it's not worth pursuing, because you believe that if the moment you have this money, bad things might happen, maybe. No one appreciates me. No one appreciates me. That's core to a lot of issues around self-esteem. You find it hard. So anyone that comes around you, you already believe that they have an ulterior motive. There's something they're after. And that speaks to trust issues, right? So the picture I'm trying to paint to see how these limiting beliefs can affect our mental health, right? How it can affect us as a human being, as a person. It makes us distrust people. It makes us to put a cap on the things that we can achieve, just in case it doesn't turn out the way we expect it to turn out. We already have things that we're going to blame. I have to protect what I have because it's just not, there's just not enough to go around. Which you don't believe in sharing, or you believe that what you have, you need to safeguard. You don't believe in in giving and sharing, in helping others, because you never know what's around the corner. And this is the last one. I'm not educated, smart enough to be successful. There are a lot of successful people, a lot of educated people who believe they're not smart enough to be successful. Are you one of those? Questioning and doubting yourself. All right. Negative core beliefs are the invisible forces that prevent you from taking action. All of those examples that we've shared, and there are many more, are the type of beliefs that we have that prevents us from taking action. There are just so many. So many. If you have examples of your own that feel free to share with me. What are those core beliefs that you have, that you're thinking of, that have been hindering you, that have been stopping you from taking action? You see, imposter syndrome presents itself in different ways. So we're going to move now into imposter syndrome. I hope you've been able to have a wider, better understanding of what core beliefs are and how they can present themselves, how they can show up. So we're going to look at imposter syndrome. And I'm going to give you an example of a very popular author. She's called Maya. Maya said, I've written 11 books, but each time, and she's written 11 books, guys, I just completed writing my book called Snapback. And I can imagine how much effort it took me and time to write the book. And for me now to think, I'm not sure what people will think, and we'll go into that later, but this lady has written 11 bestseller books. And she said, every time she writes, she thinks she's going to be found out as a fraud. That's the fear of imposter syndrome. So it presents itself, personality traits. Sometimes we get it through our family background, There are various ways that that plays out. So that's what Maya said. She said, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everyone and they're going to find me out. As what? As a fraud. Our negative core beliefs are invisible, remember, they prevent us from taking action. Now, imposter syndrome itself presents itself in different ways, and we're going to be looking at various ways through imposter syndrome presents itself. And I'm inviting you to come along and think along with me as I begin to share the different ways that imposter syndrome can present itself. And just think about it, and think which one applies to you. Because as I begin to share, I'm also going to be sharing some antidotes that you can begin to apply to yourself, and that would hopefully make a difference in your journey. Now, in my book, Snapback, there are a lot more tips. So when it's out, I will just encourage you to grab yourself a copy and apply the tips that are there, because they do work. A lot of them I have applied to myself as well, and to my clients. So I'm going to just encourage you to grab a copy. There are an awful lot of people out there who think I'm an expert. How do these people believe all of this about me? I'm so much aware of all the things I don't know. Now, Dr. Margaret Chan had been the president of World Health Organization twice. And this is what she's saying. So what this tells me is that there are a lot of people who experience imposter syndrome. They are successful, they look successful, but in their mind, there's that constant battle going on in their mind, doubting and plaguing them, right? Stopping them from actually enjoying the success of their hard work. So the first one here is perfectionist. Look at that guy. Can you see what he's doing? That's his car, and he's just looking for a scratch in his car. I can't see any, but I think he's seen something, and that's why he's like, oh, how did that happen, right? They just want everything to be 100% right every single time. Folks, that's just not possible. You can't hit the mark a few times, but every time, that's not human. But someone who is suffering from imposter syndrome, and their imposter syndrome is expressing itself as a perfectionist, they're just constantly going. They find it hard to delegate work, right? They find it hard to give somebody else tasks because they fear that it's not going to attain the kind of mark they wanted to attain. Are you that kind of person? Right. So one of the antidotes, if you are suffering from the perfectionist type of imposter syndrome, let your mantra change. Let it be, mistakes happen to even the best of us. Just keep saying it over and over. Remember, the things you hear get internalized. Now, the way you feel may not necessarily change immediately, because the feelings change towards the end. It's not the first thing that changes, it's the last thing that changes your feelings. But once you grasp it in your mind, you have a mental shift, then your feelings will gravitate towards what you hear. So let your mantra be, mistakes happen. It can happen to even the worst of us, or sorry, even the best of us. So that's your antidote there. And the second one is superhero. If you are a superhero, just give me a thumbs up. Because superheroes, look at them. Now, these are all lady superheroes, but there are lots of guy superheroes, right? It's like we know in the Avenger, we have the Superman, we have the Spider-Man, you know, we have the Iron Man and all of that. They have supernatural strength, so they're never tired. So if you are that kind of person, I'll tell you one of the traits, one of the things you do. In your workplace, you're that kind of person that stays up all night if you're working from home. If you're the one who goes into the office space, you're that person who is, you're the last person to leave because you just have to get everything done because you don't want today's work to spill into tomorrow's work. And, you just have to make sure that it's all done. Have you left all you've enjoyed doing? Because one of the things that you would notice, you possibly wouldn't even notice, but the people around you, your family members, are they suffering because you've got this imposter syndrome? You are the superhero at work. Your children, are they suffering because they don't have the time with you? Your family, your friends, your relationship, your marriage, because you focus all your energy and all your time on the task, on your work. And a superhero, someone suffering from imposter syndrome, who's got the superhero effect, one of the things you also do is that you constantly need to prove to yourself by the work that you do. You're constantly working extremely hard to make you feel, okay, yes, you've been promoted at work, but you feel you need to do extra. You need to go over and over what you're doing to make sure that you're worthy of the title that you carry. What I'm going to share with you this antidote. Step back and learn not to take criticism personally. Don't criticize yourself too much. Let it go. Let it go. If you leave your place of work tomorrow or even today, trust me, that role will be replaced in a matter of hours. It will be replaced. The third one is the expert. Who is the expert? These people are constantly trying to learn more and they are never happy with their current depth of understanding. Never happy. They do try to meet every criteria, right? So if you are going for an interview, for example, you have a job interview, not a job interview, you've seen a job role and you want to apply for that role. Are you that kind of person that has to make sure that you meet every single criteria before you apply? Because you perceive yourself to be an expert. If you don't meet one of the criteria, then you will forfeit that role. You've forgotten that a lot of the times we tend to, learn on the job. And someone who is suffering from this type of imposter syndrome also would panic anytime that he or she is referred to as an expert, would have this sense of panic that, oops, I'm going to be found out now that I'm not even an expert. I'm going to be found out that I don't even know half the things I profess to know. So such a person, guess what they do? They are constantly going for certifications, constantly putting their hands up to get trained and trained and trained. So they have a whole barrage of knowledge, but they don't feel they are good enough. They don't feel they know enough because they're constantly thinking that they don't have what it takes to do what jobs. So they're just learning and learning. Now, I don't consider myself to be an expert per se, but I'll tell you what I did. When I became qualified as a counselor in 2009, I felt I didn't know enough. I felt I needed to do more. So I would go for training, get myself certified, go for workshops. And what I did not do was start my practice because I felt, who's going to come to me? Who would want me to help them? Who's going to ask me to be their therapist? I have those questions and those self-doubts in my head. And I kept getting people helping me like, just go for it. Just start where you are. I'm thinking, I can't start where I am. What if I start and they realize I don't have what it takes, And that just kept going on for 6 years, from 2009 to 2015, when I eventually started, of 6 good years, 6 solid years gone. And after a while, I met with people who qualified same year and started their practice same year. I'm thinking, wow, they must have some guts, you know. But that's expert. You just constantly. So one antidote I'm going to share with you is to find an outlet to share your knowledge. Do what I'm doing. Find an outlet to share that what you think is not good enough might be a solution or answer to somebody else's needs. So share that knowledge that you think. You'll be surprised what difference it will make in the lives of other people. Share what you have. Okay. And then I have the genius. Ooh, the genius. Now, these kind of people, they establish unrealistic goals and objectives for themselves. And guess what? When they can't meet up, they become depressed. Just after trying for the first time. Because they've set themselves so high, just one hint that it's not going to work just makes them crash. Now, if you are this kind of person suffering from this type of imposter syndrome, one of the things that you want to look out is, how were you when you were in school? Were you that kind of person who was just an A, all through kind of student? You had all A's. But the moment you get things wrong, your confidence gets rattled. Yeah, that's a very good example that I think I can share with you. So an antidote for this is, rather than you beating yourself up, right, why don't you begin to tell yourself that, hey, I know I'm good in a lot of areas, but I'm still work in progress. Aren't we all? I'm still work in progress. Just tell yourself that. Yes, I'm very good at X, Y, Z, but if something doesn't work, calm yourself down. I'm still work in progress. And then the last but not the least is soloist. Are you a soloist? Now, these kind of people typically are self-contained and prefer to work alone. Now, don't mistake this set of people for introverts, because there's a mild difference between an introvert and a soloist, someone who is suffering from imposter syndrome and, you know, is a soloist. Because their self-worth is typically based on productivity. They frequently reject offers of help. So are you that kind of person, when somebody is offering you to help, you're like, no, I'll do it. Thank you, I'll do it. Do you consider seeking help as a sign of weakness? That they're gonna know, they're gonna find me out. If I just ask for help, they're gonna know, oops, he does not have a clue. Are you that kind of person? Do you truly believe that you can accomplish everything by yourself? Is that what you think, without asking for help? Are you that person that says, I don't need anybody's help, I can do this all by myself, I'm fine? Are you truly fine? So my antidote for you today is, understand that there is no shame in asking for help. There's no shame. You can get the task done quicker, saving time and resources by asking for help. Okay. Now, our inability to internalize success is synonymous with low self-esteem. If you are not able to embrace success fully, you've done the work, you've done all the hard work, but you are not able to own the success, that is a sign that you are possibly suffering from low self-esteem. Okay. So let's go through some common phrases. We're going to be wrapping up, but let's go through some common phrases that we use that is synonymous, that is common with people suffering from low, not low self-esteem, pardon me, imposter syndrome. So you've completed a task, it's been successful in the workplace, and everybody's applauding, like, oh, well done. And you now like reflecting the praise. You say, oh no, I had a lot of work. Oh, sorry, I had a lot of help. Are you that kind of person? Or you just went for an interview and you passed, and sharing with friends, you're saying, oh, I made it up as I went. But did you really? Was it not down to the fact that you had the skills, you had what it takes for you to get that job, to get that role? This is another one. I use my connections. Truly, listen, if you did not have what it takes, you will not be given that opportunity. So embrace it that you have made a contribution to whatever task it is or whatever role you've gone for, and you were offered that role. And another one is people were just being nice to me. It is what you say. Do you just think people were just being nice? I just blagged it. Similar to I made it up as I went along. So why don't we flip those negative comments and come up with things that says my contribution made a lot of difference, and own it. This is not pride, and this is not you being humble. It's you being able to say, yes, I did something, and own it. I had a light bulb moment. Fantastic. A lot of employers would want to employ people who, have light bulb moments that can shift the trajectory. I applied my skill set. Fantastic. That's another good one. Rather than saying, oh, I blabbed it. I just made up as I went along. I applied my skills. I applied the things, the knowledge I had. And I am super happy I passed, right? My interview went well and I got the job offer. Positive statements. So these are the things that you won't hear people who are going through imposter syndrome say. But if you are, try saying it out. The more you say it, the more you are. What you're doing is you're retraining your brain, and before you know it, you begin to internalize and live the things that you say. So here are some other telltale signs that can help you identify whether you have imposter syndrome or limiting beliefs. Do you experience persistent fear that you'll be found out, constant seeking validation in authority figures, such as your mentors, your tutor, your parents? Are those the kind of things that is your story? Do you fear that you will not live up to expectations? Whose expectations, may I ask? Your expectations or expectations of the people around you? Are you afraid that you're going to sabotage your own success? And that's exactly what happens when you have imposter syndrome. You are sabotaging your own success because you're afraid that you'll be found out. When you are going through or you're suffering from limiting beliefs, you are sabotaging your own success because you believe the things, you're holding on to things that are so untrue, and they are preventing you from moving forward. They are preventing you from, stretching. They are preventing you from experiencing joy and the happiness that comes from succeeding. Gravitating towards things that confirms your sense of unworthiness. And that's what we do. Because you don't feel worthy within yourself, anything that looks like the thing that you believe, which is not necessarily true, you gravitate to. And that's one of the things why we say, it's good to talk out, share how you feel, but who are you sharing? And that takes me back to the first thing that we talked about. Who are the people in your inner circle, right? So if you are experiencing fear, if you are experiencing low self-esteem, if you are experiencing imposter syndromes, who do you talk to? Who do you share your deep feelings with? Are they the kind of people that just say, oh, don't worry, you'll be fine? Or are they the kind of people that would encourage you and push you to do something about it? Are they your accountability partners? Right? So if you think about it, who are you sharing with? And I'll also encourage you, if this is your narrative, this is your story, seek help. Right? I'm happy to work with anyone. If you want to work with me, I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to support you, to be your accountability partner, so that you can have your own success story. And this is the last one, I believe. Failure is not an option. A constant need to prove yourself. Failure happens. We try, we fail, but then we get up and we go again. Niggering needs to be perfect in order to avoid being exposed as a fraud. So that's another thing about imposter syndrome. So let's have a quick checklist. Let's have a quick checklist. Is this you? Do you attribute your success to outside factors or luck? Do you agonize over even the smallest flaws or mistakes in your work? Are you very sensitive over constructive criticism? Do you take it personally, or are you be able to look at it objectively for what it is? And do you downplay your own expertise, even in areas where you genuinely are skilled, even more skilled than others? Okay, I'm going to share with you a top tip as we draw closer to the end today. You're not alone. You are not alone. Don't keep your feelings to yourself and suffer in silence. But be careful who you share your story with. And that's why I'm encouraging you. If you look at the people who are in your inner circle, you've evaluated them and you think they're not supportive, they're not giving you the kind of support that you need, that can help you to move out, to break out of the limiting values that you have, give me a call, send me a message. I'm happy to work with you. Please, please, please don't suffer in silence. Think you might be suffering from imposter syndrome? Let me know in the chat box. Send me a message and let me know and see how best I can support you. And these, again, are the same questions that I just want you to, reflect on, think about. Does this demonstrate who you are? Is this your story? Your narrative might be this, but then, hey, what? It can change and it will change. It's not going to change overnight, but the moment you begin, you take your first step. That's all you need, the first step, and then another incremental step. You would become that person that you've always dreamt of becoming. You would become that person that you want to be. Thank you. Someone has just said, yes, they do feel like that. Yes, so please, if you do need support, feel free. My details will be shared on the next screen. Always walk through life as if you have something new to learn, and you will, right? We would always learn something new. And I hope that, you've learned something today. I hope that you're taking something away from today. Okay. So here are some activities I want you to quickly look at. This would help you, right? I want you to make a list of your strengths. Why? We all have strength. Now, if I ask you to write a list of weaknesses that you have, I'm sure that it won't take you more than a few minutes and you've written a full A4 page of weaknesses. But I want you to flip it. Think about your strengths. What strengths do you have? What are your strengths? Think about it. It's the strength that you have that reflects in your relationship, the strength that you have that reflects in your career, your personal development, or even just in your own life. What are those things that you think, okay, it might not be a biggie to you, but who knows, who says it's not a biggie? So write your strengths down, then compare it. Think about the times when you've actually applied your strengths, that you've used it to help someone at work, or that's helped you to achieve something in your own life. That tells me something. If you are able to come up with your strengths and you're able to pinpoint to a time when you've actually applied that strength, right? That tells me that someone somewhere has benefited from you. And that's the evidence that you need to tell you that your imposter syndrome, as real as it is, it's not really a fraud. There is an element of reality to the things that you do. Your reality is the evidence that somebody has enjoyed, somebody has benefited from the things that you've done. So, Snapback is going to be launched pretty soon. I'm going to encourage you to sign up for it. The website is boostmyselfconfidence.com. So go into your Google Mail and just type in boostmyselfconfidence.com and put in your details. You will be told as soon as it arrives. And you will also find out about all the other upcoming events that I have lined up before the end of the year. And I would really love to have you there. Please, if there's any question at all that you have, let me know. Send me your questions and I would quickly have a look at it now and see how I can answer your questions. Please share with me any question that you might have about limiting beliefs, about imposter syndrome. Share with me your questions and let's answer your questions. Any question from anybody? Okay. If there is no question at all, if you don't have any question, or you want to have a private conversation with me, you can do so. My handle, you can use any of my handles. My Instagram handle, GaudiumCC. It's the same for my Twitter account, @GaudiumCC. Please feel free to use that and send me a message. You can send me a private message if you want. And don't forget the book launch, boostmyselfconfidence.com. I'll look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks when I'll be holding another webinar. All right, so thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I am grateful and I hope that you are leaving, you're taking something away from today's webinar. Thank you. All right, okay, 1 second. I'm just going to read that. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your comments. Thank you. All right, so good night and God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Good night and God bless. Thanks.